Hi Algebra 1 students, I hope you're having a good Wednesday as we get started here on school again. So today we're going to do lesson 12.5 and I'm going to say a prayer and we're going to get started. Father in heaven, I just thank you that you're faithful. I pray for all of my students that you would help them to focus and learn well and that they would have great success on chapter 12 and be ready for geometry next year. And I pray for myself that you'd strengthen me and help me to focus and to be the very best teacher that I can for them. In Jesus' name, amen. And I know that we have registration this week, so I just want to tell you that I miss you all, and we were having a great year in Algebra 1, and I hope that you will come back to my class in geometry and we'll have another great year. And geometry is super fun, lots of great opportunities for learning creatively and hands-on and, you know, the regular deal. So hopefully, prayerfully, we'll be back in class in the fall. I think we will. And we can continue learning in the traditional way. But for now, we're going to make the best of it with the video, and I'm going to get started. Okay, so let's pull out our note paper, and we're going to do lesson 12.5. And this is called, let me see, I forgot to look at the title, just give me a second. I like to be able to tell you. Okay, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So in the last one, we were simplifying, and now we're going to multiply and divide. So number one, find the product. And here we go, 2x squared over 3x times 6x squared over 12x cubed. Okay, so you're going to do two things. You're always going to multiply when the directions say find the product, but then the second part, which is just as important, is the simplifying. Okay, so don't just do number one, you must also do number two. That is really important in this lesson. So let's multiply across. This is an easy one. 2 times 6 is 12, and then we add our exponents, right? Over 36x to the fourth. Okay, so we did step one, very important, essential, want to do it correctly, but now we're going to reduce. So 12 divided by 36 is actually 1/3. That reduces, and the x to the fourth, those just cancel. So guess what? Our answer is just 1/3. All of that just goes away. All right, let's do another one. 3x squared plus 3x over 4x squared minus 24x plus 36. Sounds like my husband is also having a Zoom meeting. We're all working online these days. X squared minus 4x plus 3 over x squared minus x. Okay, why don't you go ahead and write that down? Just a moment. Okay, I'm sure you're all caught up now. Sorry, I had to go do something. Okay, so when we multiply, we just put things next to each other. So let's do that first. 3x squared plus 3x now is just next to the other polynomial, and they're just like this. So I'm going to write this one also So the first thing I do when I multiply is I just put them all next to each other. Now, I'm not actually going to do that, the multiplying. I'm now going to try to factor things out. Okay, I'm going to change color for this. This is the simplifying step, because very often in something like this term or this term, there are common factors that I'll be able to cross out, and that is really important, and that's a lot of what we're doing. So I'm going to look first at this first part of our numerator, and I'm going to see what do I have that's a common factor. Well, 3x will come out of both terms. So if I factor 3x out of 3x squared, I'm left with x. And I look at my second term, if I factor 3x out of 3x, I'm left with 1. So no longer do I have this thing, I now have what's up here. And you'll see soon how this all helps me. Now this term over here, I have 3 terms. That's a trinomial. This is something you should have seen before, and what do we do to factor that? We use magic X. So I'm going to do that over here to the side. I have 3 on top and -4 on the bottom. So what multiplies to be 3 and adds to be -4? Well, -1 and -3. So I'm going to write that up here, x minus 1, x minus 3. Now, we're going to do all of this to the denominator also, and then you'll see the purpose of the simplifying. Okay, now I've got this 4x squared minus 24x plus 36. The first thing I do, always with factoring, do you remember? I factor out common factors. So, what does everything have? Well, everything can have a 4 taken out of it. And now I have, if I factor out 4, I've got x squared minus 6x plus 9. Now, that is a trinomial that I can also use magic X on. So, what 2 numbers multiply to be 9 and add to be -6? Well, that would be -3 and -3. So I'm going to, first I took out a common factor, and now I am factoring using magic X. So this is now what I have. I no longer have this, and I no longer have this. I'm looking at what is here. Okay? Now, I'm also going to do this term. So what factors out of x squared minus x? Well, an x does. So if I take x out, I get x minus 1. Okay, now remember I still have my division here. Now I can cross things out. Okay, so whatever's in the numerator that's also in the denominator, I can cross out. So I want to look at all my parentheses and all my terms. Well, up here, I have an x minus 3, and I also have one down here. So I'm going to cross these out. And I have here an x minus 1, and I'm also going to cross out an x minus 1 down here. Now I don't have a 3x, an x plus 1, a 4, or an x minus 3, or an x, don't forget that, it gets kind of messy here, that I can cross out. So all of those are going to be part of my answer. Hang on. Oh no, there is one more thing. Look, I have an x here and I have an x up here. So I can cross those out also. Now, what's left? I've got a 3 and an x plus 1 out of what's left down here, 4 and x minus 3. So after I did all that factoring, I could cross out things, and this is what I am left with. Seems like a lot of work, but I'll tell you what, when you get to the end and you start crossing out those binomials, it's kind of satisfying. Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to change colors again, back to orange. That was number 2. Number 3, find the product. And here we go. 5x times x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay? Times x plus 3. Okay? So that means this actually, I don't see it, it has a 1 underneath. So I'm going to end up with 5x times x plus 3 over x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay. Now, I can't do anything to the numerator, so I'm just going to factor out in the denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. Now, here I've got a trinomial. I'm going to use magic x. So what multiplies to be 6 and adds to be 5? 2 and 3. Okay. Go ahead and write that down. Now, what can I cross out? Obviously, these two. So I end up with 5x over x plus 2. And that's my answer. Okay. I'm going to give you some OYOs to do on your own. And you can work on those. So number 1, x squared plus x minus 2 over x squared plus 2x times 2x squared plus 2x over 5x squared minus 15x plus 10. Okay, that's number 1. And then number 2 is 2w squared over w squared minus 7w plus 12 times w minus 4. Okay, so why don't you turn off or pause the video, and we'll come back in a few minutes and go over these. Okay? All right, so we're back. Now I'm going to rewrite these over here next to each other. Okay, now I'm going to factor everything. So this is going to factor into, let's see, x, x minus 1 and plus 2. And here I'm going to factor out a 2x, and I'll have x plus 1 there. And down here I'm going to factor out an x, and I'll have x plus 2. And here I can take out a 5, and then I have x squared minus 3x plus 2. So now I can factor this out to be x minus 1 and x minus 2. Okay? So no longer, this is no longer, this is no longer, and this isn't. Okay? So I only have those. Okay. Now I'm going to change colors for crossing out. Okay, let's see what I can cross out now that I don't have any of these to work with. It's important to keep it straight. Starting up here, I have x minus 1 and x minus 1. Do I have x plus 2? I do. Down here, I can cross those out. Do I have a 2x? No, but I do have an x. So I'm just going to cross out the x's. How about x minus 1? No. How about down here? No? Okay, so that's it. 2 times x plus 1 over 5 times x minus 2. That is my answer. Okay, let's do the next one, which is down here. So this is going to be 2w squared times w minus 4 over just our w squared minus 7w plus 12. So I'm going to factor this, and I get w minus 4 and w minus 3. Just going to change colors for contrast. How about purple? Okay, so these cancel, and the only thing I have left is 2w squared over w minus 3. Okay, so those are our problems for multiplying polynomials. Now we're going to try dividing. So the second half of our lesson is dividing polynomials. They actually follow a lot of the same rules. Okay, it just adds one more step. So here's number 4, 7x squared minus 7x over x squared plus 2x minus 3. And that's going to be divided by x plus 1 over x squared minus 7x minus 8. Okay, it's really easy. These are truly just fractions. I have division bars here. They're big, fancy, complicated looking fractions. How do I divide fractions? All I do is take the second term and flip it and multiply. So I flip and multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to rewrite this whole thing, and it becomes multiplication. And just like the problems we have done before. Okay? So all I did was flip this. Now I'm going to do everything that I've done for multiplying. So I've got 7x squared minus 7x times x squared minus 7x minus 8 over x squared plus 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. Now I know that I'm doing this quickly for the sake of the video, so that I don't have to wait as long to upload. And I've said this before, please pause it, rewind, look at it again to make sure that you're going at your pace. Customize and use the video in the way that will help you. Okay, so now I'm going to factor, and what's common to these two terms? 7x, and I'm going to pull out an x minus 1. And when I factor using magic x, what multiplies to be negative 8 and adds to be negative 7, it would be negative 8 and 1. So I've got x minus 8 and x plus 1, positive 1. Okay, and then down here, I'm going to use magic x, and I get x plus 3 times x minus 1. And then I can't do anything with x plus 1, so I'm just going to put it down here. Now I'm going to cancel everything. I love the colors. Use the colors if you can. It really helps to keep it all straight. Okay, that went away. Now I'm going to start canceling. Do I have an x minus 1? I do. Those go away. How about an x minus 8? No. I'm going to keep that. How about x plus 1? I do. How about anything down here? Can I cancel anything there? Nope. So my answer is 7x times x minus 8 over x plus 3. So there we go. All right. Now we're going to do one more, and then you'll have some OIOs, and we will be finished. Okay. So let's see. That was number 4. Let's do number 5. 2x squared plus 16x plus 24 over 3x squared divided by x plus 6. Now we did one like this, and it was multiplied. And what happened? Well, the x plus 6 just went on the top. We just put a 1 underneath it, right? Well, now I'm dividing. So I'm going to put a 1 underneath it, but to divide, what do I have to do? I have to flip it and multiply. So I end up with a problem looking like this. My original first one stays there, multiplying by 1 over x plus 6. Okay, now I am going to do all my factoring. Now always check first. Do I have any common factors? Yes, I can factor out a 2. Okay, this goes away. Now, I'm going to rewrite this up here. I kind of am running into it. I need more space. So when I factor these using magic x, I get x plus 6 and x plus 2. Okay. The others all stay the same. So I no longer need this. And what can I cancel? Well, not very much, but I'll take what I can get. So I can cancel this here and this here. And then the 2 and the 3, they don't cancel. So I just get, oh, whoops, I crossed out the wrong one. Don't do that. Okay, so I've got 2 times x plus 2 over 3x squared. And that's okay. I can have that for an answer. All right, I'm going to give you 2 OIOs, and you can try those on your own. So the directions are divide, and then we have number 1, m squared minus 4 over 2m squared plus 4m divided by 6m minus 3m squared over 4m plus, hang on, that doesn't look right. Yeah, plus 44. Okay, so go ahead and do that one. And then number 2, n squared minus 6n plus 9 over 12n divided by n minus 3. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, and we'll come back in a moment. Oh, and by the way, this should look like something you've seen before up here, m squared minus 4. We're missing the middle term, so don't forget that. Okay, I hope you're back and you had some success with these. We'll find out. So, I'm going to flip this whole term, so I end up with m squared minus 4 over 2m squared plus 4m times 4m plus 44 over 6m minus 3m squared. Okay, so now let's write it all next to each other. Okay, so now let's factor. The first thing I'm going to do is add in a 0 term here. Remember that? So when I can do magic x, I end up with what multiplies to be negative 4 and adds to be 0. It is 2 and negative 2, and it should be positive. Hang on a minute. Yeah, 2 and negative 2. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have m minus 2 and m plus 2. And now I'm going to factor out a 4 here. So I have m plus 11. And here, I'm going to factor out 2m, and I get m plus 2 down here. Now, I don't like this because I have the m squared second, and I also have a negative m squared there. I'm not going to be able to cancel stuff. So, I'm going to factor out a negative 3m. So watch this, be careful. I wanted to see if you could figure it out. So here I'm going to factor out a 3m. So a 3m. So if I take 3m, I have 6m divided by 3m. 6 divided by negative 3 is what? Negative 2. And if I factor out 3m, negative 3m, out of negative 3m squared, what am I left with? I'm just left with a 1 on top, or an m on top, under 1. These cancel completely. That's why I did it. So I end up with a positive m. Okay? Now, that's going to look like something I've already seen. I can change this around so that it's negative 3m times m minus 2. Do you see how I just switched the order from here? And now that looks like the one up here. That was the whole goal. I want to be able to cross things out wherever I can. And I can choose to factor out a negative number if I want to. It's up to me. When I do it, I have to follow the rules. I can choose to multiply something. I can choose to factor anything out. But once I make that choice, I have to do it correctly, according to the laws and rules of math. So I was looking here, and I could see that I would end up with a negative m term. And I didn't want that. So that's why I chose to factor out the negative 3m. Not just 3m, but the negative one. So I would end up with a positive answer here for m. And that will allow me to cancel. I hope you're with me on that. Okay? Now let's do the canceling. If you don't get that, I'm sure we'll have a tutoring session, sometime a Zoom soon, and we can go over it again, or you're welcome to email me. I'd be happy to set up something to help explain these things to you. Okay, so let's see. These are all crossed out here. These are crossed out. Okay, I don't have this anymore. I just have what's down there. Let's see what I can cross out. Well, I've got m plus 2 and m plus 2. I have an m minus 2 and an m minus 2. And I have, let's see, 4 and 2. I can cross those out. And that's it. So what's left? I've got the 2 here. I've got m plus 11. I have an m, and I have negative 3m. Do you see how helpful it is to use different colors? Because it would be very easy to just miss something. You don't want to go fast with these. You don't want to miss anything. So I get 2 times m plus 11 over, now I have this, and I have negative 3m squared. And that is my answer. Okay? All right, let's do the last one. So I'm going to, this seems easy after that last thing, huh? Flip that. And now I'm just going to write them next to each other. Over 12n and n minus 3. Okay, now I'm going to factor up here. So I'm using magic X, and I get negative 3 and negative 3. So I've got n minus 3 and n minus 3. Okay, I can't factor anything down here. Well, down here, this is already all factored. So now I'm going to start canceling out, and I can just cancel out this and this. That's it. So I'm left with n minus 3 over 12n. Now be careful. We talked about this in the last lesson. I have n here and I have n down here. I cannot cancel them. The reason why is that this is connected to the 3 with a minus. I cannot cancel out unless I have multiplication or division. Okay? I can't do it. So if there's a minus or a plus connecting my terms, you don't cancel out from top to bottom. The answer just stays like this, just like this. Okay, that's it for lesson 12.5. I will send you the video and the homework, and I hope you have a great Wednesday. Bye.